You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright Review.
What's up, creeps? Welcome to a brand new Epic Film Guys Fresh Fright Review. I am Justin.
I'm B-Ratty, and it's so happy to be here together.
Together, forever, together, forever. Our good boy Jeremy could not make this episode. He's celebrating, I think it's his 13th wedding anniversary. Is that correct, B-Ratty? I'm pretty sure it's up there.
I think it's 13 or 14.
It's up there somewhere. It's around mine and my wife's, so congrats to them. I hope that he's enjoying his time with the wife and the fam. But we're going to be sitting here to talk about the brand new body horror. I'd call it a comedy-ish rom-com, if you will. Relationship drama together that just came out in theaters this weekend, directed by, I think, can he be related to Don Shanks, Mr. Michael Shanks, Don Shanks? I was saying to this pre-show, like, could he possibly be like a nephew or something of The Shape, aka Michael Myers from Halloween 5?
One of the best Halloweens.
No.
I remember you and I were at Mahoning maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and we were talking about Halloween movies with Mike Kenny, and I said that Halloween 5 was one of my favorite movies, just as sarcastic as I could be.
Sure.
And the look of just confusion and
partially disgust, maybe?
Was
there a little disgust in his eyes?
Yeah. He was like, "Oh my god, are you serious?" And I was like, "No, dude, I can't even finish the sentence."
He's a Halloween guy. Like, we always talk Halloween, and it's funny because there's always that guy, man. Like, with that community, I think, just like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and fill in the blank, whatever, people have their favorites, and there are people that are like, Halloween 5 is my fucking favorite movie. And this is coming from a guy, if you look at my arm, I legit have the Michael Myers tattooed on my arm from Halloween 5 with no Jamie Lloyd. I had her not included, but I just had it done because I loved the artwork.
She's an orphan? You didn't have her included because
Jamie's an orphan.
Look, man,
fuck that orphan.
Halloween 5 is not my favorite, or, top 3 or top 5 or top 6, but
no.
I definitely fucking love The Curse of Michael Myers, man. Like, and that one also gets
I know you do.
Objectively, it's not a great movie, but it's so much fun to watch.
No, that's entertainment versus, however you want to view movies. Like, that's the one thing. That's why I hate the whole guilty pleasure thing, and I'm so against that nonsense bullshit term. You should never feel guilty for enjoying anything. And people be like, well, that's the entire point of the statement. I go, I don't give a shit. Like, I never feel guilty for enjoying anything that I like.
Right.
Do I know it's not a good movie? Absolutely, as a film critic, for sure. But as just a movie watcher, like, yeah, I'm enjoying this piece of shit movie.
If I'm going to make a playlist on Spotify, I'm not going to feel guilty about putting Shania Twain on there.
Of course not. Of course not. Dude, but before Creed came out huge and was touring and making shitloads of money again.
Oh, it was a black spot if you said that to anybody.
Dude, who was listening to that shit on our way home from Mahoning, drive-in theater, horror fests? I mean, unironically. And we would say it like, no, we like Creed unironically. Like, fuck off.
I'm just going to go on record here and say that I think we single-handedly brought Creed back.
Probably. And I still haven't even seen them on any of their new tours because it's so damn expensive.
Yeah, they're getting a little big for their britches. It's
probably.
Like, okay.
Though, I mean, Scott Stapp, those jeans are tighter than mine, bro. I mean.
Yeah, well, you give him a little more crack and he'll probably fall off again. So he needs to watch out.
I mean, dude, there's Creed shirts again at Walmart. I just saw one the other day. So they're back. No, I did not get it.
I carried one all the way around Walmart because we were going to an 80s party, and I bought some actually Walmart has some interesting button-ups.
They do.
But then I saw the Creed shirt, and I was like, oh my fucking god, I have to get this. And Faye was like, I think you do. And I carried it all the way around the store with me, and then I dropped it off at the last second because I was like, no, I can find a better one. I can find like a tour shirt.
Sure, of course. I know you want one of those vintage ones, but here we are on a Fresh Frights talking about Creed of all things. I know our audience loves it, though. That's why you're tuning in for random bullshit banter, of course. But we're here to talk about Together, that new horror movie that has landed from Neon. and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, I've been kind of looking forward to this one. It's I feel like Neon, we've talked about this over the past year and a half now, but Neon has really given A24 a run for its money.
Absolutely.
I also am just going to go out on record now and say that I think Neon, I can more consistently feel like I'm going to get a really good movie. A24, whatever you see, it's going to be weird in a way. It might not be a good weird, it might be a bad weird, or it might be a really cool weird. But you kind of lately don't know what you're going to get. But I feel like with Neon, they've just been throwing darts like straight into the bullseye. So that's all to say that when Together came out and it was a Neon film, saw that it was going to be Dave Franco and Alison Brie, I was like, oh, this is definitely going to be something I have to be there for.
Alison Brie, Dave Franco, body horror. I'm fucking in immediately. And just the title itself, Together, when I saw the first poster image, I was like, it just grabbed me. The poster of like their hands like melding into each other's throats. Love it, man. It's super romantic, but dark at the same time. I'm there for it. And got to shout out our longtime friends, In Session Film, who we used to collaborate with all the time, way back before you were still wearing diapers, bro, when EFG was doing stuff with them. Yeah. But they have their quote, the best horror film of the year, on the poster, and it's on every thing that I've seen, huge marketing standees and things at every theater. So props to them. Loves seeing that with colleagues of ours. Interestingly enough, since the last time you've heard us on the show, I know you did last summer, I have another pull quote that happened for the new Naked Gun movie, which was not even, it just happened. I just went to go see the movie because I really love those movies and was very excited about it. And of course I tweeted about it after I saw it, and boom, they're like, we're using it for marketing. So EFG, baby, huge this year. And in between the last episode and this, we did drop my YouTube interview, if you will, with the director from The Fantastic Four: First Steps, which is an awesome experience as well. So go check that out if you haven't yet. But on to the horror of it all, B-Ratty. For those that are uninitiated, we are doing full spoiler for this movie. So if you don't want this ruined for you, go see the movie and then come back and listen after. But what is Together all about?
Years into their relationship, Tim and Millie find themselves at a crossroads as they move to the country. With tensions already flaring, an encounter with an unnatural force threatens to corrupt their lives, their love, and their flesh.
Their flesh. Long live the flesh.
Yeah, it's funny you say that quote, because right before this movie, I told Faye, I was like, when was the last time you screened Videodrome? So I don't know. I think, but that also goes into part of my review of this, is like, I think any time that you hear the word body horror, like, who are you going to think of? Cronenberg, right? Like, obviously.
Usually.
You're going to have influences here and there. Like, anytime that there's sort of like a mutated monster blended with a bunch of bodies, you think of The Thing, right? But on top, it's usually Cronenberg. Anything that you do nowadays, you throw back to, oh, well, this reminds me of The Fly, or Society, something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But man, like, I definitely am super excited, even his son Brandon, but to see like directors and writers coming out nowadays, especially with The Substance last year, being in the running for an Oscar, like to see body horror come from where it was, kind of like the redheaded stepchild,
absolutely, almost the black sheep in a way. Yeah,
get a lot of notoriety, and here we are now. But so I'm really excited that we get this.
Yeah, for sure. I got to see this a few weeks back, but I decided to come see it again with you and Faye, because she screened it for her Psycho Cinema today at Winchester Alamo. I just felt like I wanted to be fresher on it, even though not that much happens in the movie and it's not that difficult to understand or anything like that. I just really wanted to be fresh for this review, so I went and saw it again. That's how much I enjoyed Together. So I'll say my first impressions right off the bat. I think it's a super fun movie. I think most of that comes from the fact that Alison Brie and Dave Franco are together in real life. They've been married for, I think, over 10 years or something like that, or they've been together at least over 10 years. And their chemistry on screen, it shows in such a massive way. They both produce this, and I think they're wonderful in the movie. They just play off each other so perfectly as this couple. Dave Franco kind of playing this character, Tim, who's almost like super douchey. He's this guy that he made me feel even worse about myself being in my 40s thinking that, hey, I'm still going to keep podcasting and eventually we're going to be even bigger than we are, where there's a line where you're like, you're 35 and you still think you're going to be a rock star. That was me when I was in my 20s, mid 20s, but he's a musician and he seems like he's out of work. He's not on a label anymore. But they're about to take a leap because they're going to move from the big city out to the country so she can take an elementary school teaching job out in this middle of nowhere town.
Like Pacific Northwest. I think Washington State is what the license plate said.
Yeah, but they shot the movie in Australia, so not shot in America at all. But I couldn't tell the difference. I don't know about you, but...
No, I mean, it looked like the setting for Bring Her Back, so I guess, that means Australia, but...
Yeah. So, I mean, my first impressions, like I said, the movie's got some great jump scares here and there. I think that it's got some good atmosphere and good imagery, if you will. Obviously, every neon horror movie does, so you just come to expect that. And a lot to say about marriage and relationships as a whole. Mm-hmm. So, for me, at least, I just had a fun time with this movie. It's super fucking funny at the same time. I didn't expect it to be as funny as it was. It's not even listed under comedy in any way, but I thought it was way more of like a horror comedy than anything else. What did you think?
No, I mean, it's definitely, I'd left the theater feeling pretty warm on it, and it's a solid body horror entry. But I do think that it's a little light on the horror aspect. Like it's you could definitely call it more of a relationship drama thriller with some body horror elements in it. But
that'd be way too difficult to actually
right. Put that in your next blurb. But I, all that to be said, and we'll get into it. But yeah, Brie and Franco are just magnetic with their chemistry. Like and you have to wonder, in the hands of people who have not been in a relationship since 2011, I think Faye said. How would that banter have gone? How would this chemistry play? Like, this feels very lived in for a reason, and I think that's really the heart of this movie is you're looking at this relationship where they have been together themselves in the movie for over a decade. There's a kind of like a botched proposal at the beginning.
Oh my God, it was so uncomfortable. So Jesus.
You can tell like there's definitely some things at play, and not to make Tim feel, seem like a complete asshole. He went through some trauma that he's still dealing with his parents, which I thought was some really good imagery. But throughout the entire movie, everything that's happening is this kind of this story of a marriage that is in the throes of falling apart, and you have choices of either going your separate ways or being together. And I think that is what keeps this one going, and their performance. I don't know that if you got like I don't know, let's just say a Chris Hemsworth and a Dakota Johnson and put them in this, like there's
great
there, right?
That came out of nowhere, right?
Well, there was a Dakota Johnson trailer beforehand.
That's true.
But yeah, so I mean, definitely first impressions of it are that it's a winner.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, and like I said, it comes really down to that cast. And I like the premise. I really do. I liked that, they start in the big city. He's like this guy still pursuing this dream to be a career musician. Obviously, he's down on his luck. The stuff with his parents doesn't come in until later. They hint at it in one really spooky scene that I loved. I loved that imagery because I had no idea what the fuck was going on. And it plays with that imagery a lot. It obviously has some of the classic neon moments where that overhead drone shot of a car going, but it's fine. It's perfectly fine. The one thing I'm going to say, because I have to mention it right now, and you noticed it as well, Millie, Alison Brie's character, it's this teaching job as a English teacher, and they moved to the countryside, right? The house that they moved into was like literally what looked like a fucking mansion. Like that shit would probably still be around $1 million. You're telling me that an elementary school English teacher can afford that? The house is gorgeous, dude. And I know they use houses in these movies to kind of make them more iconic, like to give it this imagery that's going to be sustainable and memorable. But for me, I'm like, come on, dude. There's no way they would have moved in a tiny ass little shack. He has no job, dude.
The median home price in Washington State is around $658,000.
You just looked that shit up, didn't you?
I did. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
There ain't no way that they were living in that house. I mean, maybe they were renting, sure, but I don't
Possibly.
get that vibe because of how rural the neighborhood is.
It wasn't run down or anything. It looked like a beautiful old house. I loved the look of the house.
Yeah, I mean, I think that both houses that you see in this are great. I would live in them.
But same thing, though.
I don't think that I could afford them.
Of course not. Me either. The place they lived in the city, though, also looked very posh. I'm like, you live in this fucking flat? This looks like another, like, very expensive place to live. So, I don't know. Maybe he made a lot of money in his music career before this, and they just didn't want to go into any of that, and he's just, like, broke now? I have no clue.
I mean, you do kind of get the vibe that his star was rising. So I'm sure he had some good money from that, and then when what happened with his parents happened, he kind of just really fell off, and that's why when he's talking to Millie's brother outside the party, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like you should get back on a label," and he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna self-release this one, and I really should get on the label again." Like you can definitely tell there's something.
He says the label thing like in a way where like I wish I could be on a label. He probably got dropped, So
yeah.
What's funny is the whole conversation isn't as realistic as it should be, or could be rather, because when he's like, "Oh yeah, the label takes care of everything," yeah, they do today in 2025, but they do jack shit for you in comparison to what they would have done in the 90s.
Right.
But anyways, I digress here. I liked how the movie opened. The opening of the movie has nothing to do with these characters. It's a very cold open. We see this very dark search going on in these woods, and it appears that there's a search party out there. And we have two dogs that somehow end up in this cave. I didn't see them jump down. I thought there was only one way to get down there, Brady. So how the fuck did those dogs get from land level down in this huge hole into this cave? I don't know.
I was wondering that too, but also later on in the movie where Tim and Millie climb out of the hole, it seemed like it was a lot easier than they were trying to make it seem like in the scene beforehand. So maybe those dogs also found a way out.
It's possible.
I don't know. I mean,
no
dogs,
idea.
Man, pets end up in the weirdest places.
But so these dogs on this search party, where they're out there searching for these missing people, they indicate there's a couple that are missing in the woods, and the dogs land in this huge hole, and there's this bell with this symbol on it, and the dogs are just in this cave, and they drink from the water, and later the dogs get out, they go back home with their owner, this guy is part of the search party, and through the night, the guy's daughter is like screaming to him for him to come out, and then he goes out to check on the dogs, and it's a really spooky moment. It's obviously a huge throwback to The Thing. We know it's a reference to The Thing. Yep. But then he shines the flashlight, and the two dogs have melded together into one unit, and it's this mutated monstrosity, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I liked that. I was definitely worried because I don't really like to see a lot of animal stuff.
I know. I feel the same way, dude. 5 dogs at home.
This was
I know.
Building up to it, I was like, man, I really hope they don't fucking do this like in the first 5 minutes. And they don't. But, I did like kind of this cold open where you get a little bit of backstory in a way. This other,
sure,
like it's not just something that's happening to them; it's the area, right?
Yeah.
And then you're launched into what I'm assuming is something like a Seattle or like a Portland. And they're in their apartment, and you're kind of introduced to Tim and Millie. Like they seem pretty good. Millie's talking to her friend, but you get that there's some sort of strife going on where her friend's like, "Hey, I love Tim, but I loved Tim 10 years ago. Like, what has Tim done for you lately?" What's the old Eddie Murphy skit, the "What have you done for me lately?"
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Tim is outside talking to Millie's brother and about, the music that we were just talking about. And then, they're like, "Oh, dude, we have a gig for you." And he's like, "Oh, I'll have to run it by Millie." And then her brother's like, "Well, I thought when you started dating her, she'd be cooler, but all she did was make you more lame. And like, I don't want to live my life thinking that, somebody else's life is flashing by my eyes." Some of the relationship stuff that they introduce into this movie as allegories and metaphors, it's like very ham-fisted.
It's heavy-handed for sure.
It's like that one is definitely like, all right, dude, I get what you're trying to say. But I think it goes
into
that's what you get into later.
I want to cut you off. That's a good lead up because he says that line to him, and then later on, Tim says something back to Millie that was pretty powerful stuff. At least for me, I connected with it on an emotional level for sure. In terms
and then
of,
you get something from Millie's friend too, where she's like, it'd be nice if you could find somebody who could fuck you, like actually like have sex.
Yeah, apparently these two haven't had sex in forever, and I'm like, dude, I get maybe this guy needs, what's that goddamn blue pill? Fucking, I keep seeing YouTube videos. Chewy, whatever the hell the goddamn shit is, whatever, I don't know. But I'm like, who could be with Alison Brie and not want to have sex with her? Come on, dude. Are you serious? 10 years or not? Listen, I've been married I've been together with my wife for a lot longer than that. I never hesitate. Let's be very clear here, without going too far. So you're married to her and she's a stunner, great personality in this movie. She's a teacher, obviously very passionate and open, and allowing him a lot of leeway for being like this kind of failed musician, where she supported him, she sacrificed for him. But now it's time for him to make the sacrifice because they're moving from the big city all the way in the middle of nowhere so she can take this teaching job where he doesn't really have anything. The dude can't drive, right? He only has a learner's permit. So anything that he needs to do or wants to do, it has to go by her, and he has no job out there. So, but the botched proposal was so uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
They're in front of all their friends. He's making this speech like, it's not that far away. I'm going to miss you guys. You're my real family. Little do we know that later on that like he has no other family, that his parents there was like this massacre, if you will. We don't really know all the details of that either. But so this is his, family unit, all these people. He's like, that's it. I'm done with this speech. And behind him is Millie on her knees, like, gesturing without a real ring, but gesturing like, it's kind of cute. Like, will you marry me? And he just looks at her and he goes, are you serious right now?
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, are you joking? And you can like the air is just sucked right out of the room. Which is then punctuated by when he's like, oh, no. Like he catches himself. He's like, I mean, yes, of course. I was just surprised. And then the one friend like goes to like clap and nobody else claps.
No, and then immediately cuts to them in bed and he's just like, so sorry. I didn't really know what was going on. He's like totally out of it, man. I'm like, this guy's already got problems before anything happens that we're going to get to in a few minutes here where, all the actual together stuff starts to happen to these guys. It's like, man, this kid's just like, really? Like, okay, he doesn't have sex with his wife. He's a failed musician. But I get that, like, if he were successful in his career and as a person, this movie wouldn't really have worked as well. I think it was necessary to make him kind of down and out for this to be as strong as it was.
Well, like every other movie that we talk about, there has to be a level of trauma involved. So you get the sense that he was successful, but he's not now because of what he went through. And then you find out later that, he hasn't even really told Millie exactly everything he saw or experienced. And so like, there's also another layer. And then that's, the whole communication is key, right? Like you got to over communicate sometimes. And sometimes I guess it takes falling into a cave while you're hiking and finding some
cultist
sort of
shit
spirit. Yeah. But yeah, so after this we kind of pick up, he has a dream that has some really good imagery where it's like people across the bed in bed are looking at him, but then he wakes up and they're in their new house, and they set about their day and they're trying to do everything. And then, Millie goes to her new job and she meets a fellow teacher and, she's having a great day. And you get the sense that she is definitely the successful one. Like they moved out for her job. Again, I don't know how realistic it is that an elementary school teacher would make enough money for that house.
It's not realistic, Brady. I can tell you right now, it's not realistic at all, but that's fine. It's a movie.
She meets another teacher named Jamie, played by Damon Harriman. And this is a dude who, like, now he's at a point where anytime he shows up in a movie, I'm like, oh, you're bad. Like, you've never played a good character in your career. Like, you are definitely going to be evil in some way.
Do you mean that? Oh, okay. I was going to say, because you were saying, dude, that motherfucker was in the House of Wax remake from 2005, and I loved him in that shit.
And he's bad in that at the end.
Dude, did he play Charles Manson too?
He played it in Mindhunter and in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's crazy, dude. This guy has a long list of amazing stuff that he's done. And I'll say it right now. I liked him in this movie. I thought he was very good.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was just saying that he's like, it's kind of like when you're watching like reruns of Law and Order and like somebody kind of famous pops up and you're like, okay, well, he's definitely going to be bad because why else would you be in this
yeah,
episode,
I mean, let's be clear. The guy comes off super uber friendly to Millie on her first day. You know, he oversaw, because he's part of the employment committee there at the school, helped get her hired and all this stuff. You're like, oh man, this guy's just playing it. He's playing it real hard. You're like, waiting for this guy to fucking cut some heads off or something.
Right. You're waiting for something to happen, but they drag it out, and then Millie gets home and you know tries to initiate sex again, and Tim is just like, no, maybe tomorrow. Let's go on a hike and like be closer. And it's like, yeah, okay. I just asked to have sex with you, and you're like, how about pass? But we go on a hike tomorrow.
Dude, what woman wouldn't want to be with that guy after that? And what guy would actually say that? He's just going to sit there. He's trying to rehearse though, because he agreed to go on the tour with her brother's band. And he has to learn all the songs first, which makes sense. And he's got to make this rehearsal, which he has to take the train for in like the next day or so. So I get it, man. I've had to learn songs when I've jumped on a band within a couple weeks of a show and they wanted me to cover for their old vocalist or something like that. Learning those songs isn't easy, and to like get the cadence and the rhythm and everything perfectly. So you don't want to underwhelm the audience. You want to give them what they're supposed to get. I get that aspect, but he actually seemed more or less like, I just don't want to have sex. Not even that he cared that much about the songs.
Right. Exactly. So they go hiking the next day. And of course, you still get the playful banter back and forth. And she's like, hey, maybe we should go back. Like, I don't want to get too lost. And he's like, come on, it's perfect weather. And it cuts to like pouring rain.
Yeah.
They're lost. They're freaking out. And then Tim falls in a pit and accidentally, pulls Millie down with him. And that's where we realize that we're in the same underground cave that those dogs were in the beginning.
Yes.
And the pool that they drank out of before they were stuck together. So while they're down there, they're talking, and Tim goes over and finds the water and fills up his bottle. He's like, no, it's good. We're gonna drink it. Then they have a bottle of wine. And that's where you get more backstory from Tim, where he's like, okay, well, look, actually, like, I found my parents. My dad had died in bed, and my mom was suffering some psychosis. It had mental issues and completely just, separated in her brain, and was going to bed next to this dead body for nights. And like the smell was awful. And he talks about the rat he found, because when they moved in, he
found a rat up above a light fixture. Yeah.
And they were all stuck together, which I whispered to Faye, I was like, that's a rat king. But I got to give him props, being a previous rat owner and rat breeder, if you will, which I don't know if our audience remembers that. At least they made like a prop rat. It looked like a little animatronic. It wasn't CG rat. Yeah. And it didn't make the fake rat noise, which every other fucking movie does. I was like, that sounded actually like a rat. So I had to give him props on that. But then while they're in the cave, you get this and you're like, wow, okay, well, there's an extra layer of trauma. Because like, yeah, of course, who wouldn't that fuck up? And then you start to realize, he talks a little more about how this mental health issue that has been, his mom, and kind of attached to his mom. And you get that that's kind of a sore spot for him, where he's worried that that's going to be, I mean, anybody who's been raised around somebody who has mental health issues at some point in their life wonders in therapy or on their own, like, hey, is this going to be me?
Yeah, seemed like maybe you could relate in more ways than one, huh? B-Ratty.
Right. So, I thought that was some good exposition that didn't feel like, okay, well, now we had to have this long drawn out thing. It's them. There's many moments in the movie where they have really great moments as a happy couple together, or you can see the glimpses of why they would be together.
Well,
right?
also,
it's not like they're all just fighting the entire time.
No, very, very true. And for me, at least, I thought it was a great horror movie moment. We've always had like these moments in these movies where they get trapped somewhere. They're in a dark, spooky cave, and you hear the sound effects of the water dripping and things murmuring in the background. It's just this couple there. So it adds this sense of, something could happen. We don't really know what's in the cave. We don't know how large it is, or, what's down there, if you will. And of course, he falls asleep, and she wakes him up, and she's like, only you could sleep in a cave. And this is where we see our first bit of any kind of body horror in the film. Their legs are literally stuck together, like stuck together. And she's like, what the
mildew?
It's mildew, which is so funny. And of course they're in pain from this, because there's this really disgusting, like slimy white whatever you want to call it. It looked like jizz to me, honestly. I'm just being straight up.
Yeah, definitely. It looked to me kind of like when your legs stick to like a hot car seat,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
like they like kind of pull, but way more painful. So then they end up climbing out super easy, which I thought was funny. Then they get home, and then who shows up? Jamie with a bottle of wine shows up. He says, "Hey, I wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood. I'm the house, right down the street, because I am the neighborhood. Ha ha ha." They come in, they have some wine, and you get a lot of this sniping starting back and forth between Tim and Millie, where Tim's like, "Oh, Tim will drink anything."
Dude, I laughed out loud when I saw the movie because Danny looked at me and she pointed at me. I guess that's me. I guess.
But they're just doing some passive aggressive comments back and forth, and they talk about how dinner's so good, and Millie's like, "Oh well, Tim makes everything. I've never been able to learn to cook because I haven't had to." And Tim's like, "Oh yeah, I'm like a hostage, except hostages don't have to cook for themselves." And it's just kind of like back and forth rising, and you could tell Jamie's like, "Okay, this is getting kind of weird." But then he ends up telling them, they talk about how they ended up in this cave and the couple that had gone missing.
Sure.
And Jamie explains that, there was a church that was out there in the woods with like pews and everything that had fallen into like a cave because of weather. And that the church had just kind of, dispersed and just became non-existent. Nothing weird happened. You're like, okay, there's definitely more.
Yeah. Talks about this New Age church. And the cultish imagery right from the get-go is pretty strong. Then he leaves, and he's like, "Oh yeah, looks like Jamie likes you." A little do we find out later that Jamie's not into chicks, or at least we don't know. We don't think Jamie's into chicks. So now we proceed here. Millie can tell that Tim is not feeling well. They've had, even when they came up from the cave, she asked for a back massage, and he starts to do it, and he just zones out and like really grips her really hard and starts to almost injure her. She doesn't want him to leave. She can tell he's not feeling well. And earlier on, when she leaves and he takes a shower, you can see whatever direction she's driving, his body is like contorting and like pushing towards. And
I liked that. I thought that was
liked
a really
it a lot.
Cool aspect of this, because it's even later what you get when she drops him off to go to the gig at the train station, and she starts driving away, and he's like, he's thinking it's anxiety, so he went and got medicine from a doctor, and he's trying to pop the pills, diazepam, which is now I guess what they call Valium.
Yeah, I guess so.
And he ends up walking all the way back to her school, which you get the idea is like not close by. But when he shows up there, he confronts her, she takes him in the bathroom. She's like, "You can't do this." And he's like, "I couldn't be away from you. Like, it feels like I'm so thirsty, and that doesn't go away until I'm here."
And then he shoves his tongue down her throat, and they have passionate, amazing sex, which is a great scene because it adds tension and suspense, because that there's like kids on the playground right outside of the boys' bathroom.
Right.
Or he walked in, she pulls him in there to talk to him, be like, "What are you doing here?" And then they're fucking, and they have what apparently seemed like really great sex after not having sex for a long time. And then now they're stuck together. His dick is inside her, which I think this plays on a fear that any man or woman would feel. Because being stuck inside someone, or have someone stuck inside you, like it's got to be painful, and they have to try to force themselves to separate, and it's almost impossible. Like, he thinks she's tensing up, or she's just super tight on him or squeezing him or whatever. It's not that at all. Like, he's stuck, that their bodies are starting to come together. Yeah. Dude, it's one of the funniest things ever. You see him pulling, and you see part of his dick just almost like a rubber piece. Pulling
that's
out,
what
like,
it is, though, because it's we found out that Michael Shanks' wife works for a
sex toy company, right?
Adult toy company.
Yeah.
And so that prop is actually just a dildo, and the special effects director was like, "Let's just throw some pubes on it, and it'll be fine." And it works. I mean, like, it definitely, like,
when it stretches, man, you could feel it. Oh my god, I cringed so hard. And then she puts her hand on his mouth, and she's like, "I'm so sorry."
Oh, that was
and she
so,
like
like,
rips
you
it
know
out
it's
of.
coming,
And,
yeah.
oh my god.
Well, because she also sees that there's a kid's shoes outside the stall door.
Yeah, the kid walks in while they're
fuck out of here, and
yeah.
then she's like, "I'm so sorry," and you can just feel the pain. Like, and they do a really good job of, her hand stays on his mouth the entire time, and he's just trying not to scream. But you got to imagine that was top 10 worst moments for him.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe
I mean,
top 5.
dude, for any guy, I think, or any girl too, like that feeling too of like that being ripped out of you, or the dude having his shit ripped out. like
I'll walk into a bedroom and find my parents dead, and that's awful.
Sure,
but
having your dick ripped out of a vagina after you've had great sex, no.
Yeah,
seriously, no.
No. Give me the parents dead in bed over it.
Absolutely.
But after this, Jamie ends up walking in the bathroom because the student grabbed him, and then Millie has blood coming down her leg. So you're led to believe that Jamie's just like, oh, I get it, take care of that, and then don't let this happen again. Like, try to make it to the staff bathroom.
But he sees
a foot come down from the toilet.
So he knows
that something foul is afoot. So
they leave from there. They have this huge fight. She's like, what the fuck? I could have been fired. I could have been arrested. How dare you do this? Like, you came at me. You basically forced me to have sex with you. And they have this huge falling out. She's so upset over this. Mm-hmm. And she tells him to stay at the house. And she goes to Jamie's house because he lives right down the street to like talk it out with someone, because they don't know anyone there. They don't have any friends. This is the only person she's met where she can actually speak to them on a one-on-one level. And there's a lot of dialogue here, which if you've seen the movie already, you already know how on the nose it is about his partner and what happened with him and his partner, and that he's the only one there, and he's got 2 rings on his finger, and we'll get to that later. But he tries to comfort her and have a conversation with her, and she goes back home. And this is another one of the great moments of the movie. I thought so.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he definitely has some backstory, and then there's another moment of levity in there where she looks outside and sees that Tim is just standing in the fucking garden.
Is he fucking Michael Myers? He's out there outside the window just lurking there. Like, he looked so fucking dumb, dude. His face, he looked it was so hilarious, dude.
And then Jamie's like, hey, I really want to show you my wedding video. And she's like, oh, sorry, I'll have to see it next time. And runs out and grabs him. They get home, and Tim is trying to explain. He's like, look, I'm sorry. Like, I couldn't stay away. Like, I'm trying to tell you there's something not right. There's something wrong here.
And in the meantime, which we haven't mentioned, he's looked on the internet because his doctor told him about that missing couple that we know from the opening of the movie that had been missing, and there was a huge search party. And he does this deep dive on the internet, and he's like, oh shit. And he's telling her about this. Like, dude, I think it's the woods, something that happened in the cave, and she's not falling for it at all. She just thinks he's being him, like this failed other half of this relationship.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it's definitely very tense here. So then she's like, I think you need to sleep like in the spare room tonight. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? And she's like, and also my parents are coming this Sunday. Like, I don't think you should be here. And he's like, well, what do you mean I shouldn't be here? And she's like, I don't want you.
Oh man, that was the coldest line ever. When she said that, I felt it so hard. And I'm not going to put anyone under the bus, but I've felt that way before.
Well, there's that, and the other line where, like, before she goes to Jamie's house, and she's like, you stay here, and he's like, okay, and then he's like, well, should I go with you? Like, blah blah blah. And she was like, I'm starting to understand how I'm not your mother, Tim, but I'm starting to understand how she felt. And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like I'm next to somebody who's dying.
Oh, so cold, dude.
Yeah, I was like,
so cold.
In the words of Crossfade,
yep.
Never meant to be so cold. But, so then during that night, even though they're in separate rooms, which Tim is kind of like, yeah, this would make sense because we have to stay away from each other. They can't. There's something supernatural pulling their bodies together. So they meet in the hallway.
It's an amazing sequence. Her body's contorting, and I love the build up to it. He just gets pulled out of bed. He wakes up. He's being dragged like lifelessly on the floor of this hallway. and then her door is like rumbling, and then it opens up, and she's like, she's flipped around, almost like Exorcist director's cut style, like the spider walk style, and flips around, and now she's realizing like, oh shit, like he's not lying, he's not making this up, he's not delusional. And then they do everything they possibly can to stay away from one another. He's like holding on with all his limbs on the side of the walls and everything, and it just does not work. They end up coming together, and their arms become fully fused,
which I thought was really cool. I liked that imagery. I liked how visceral it looked, how painful you could tell it would be. Man, it's good.
One of the funniest scenes too, because he's like, the pills in the drawer, get the pills. And they pour the pills out, and she's like, goddamn childproof. And it was so funny. Then he had to open it with his other hand, and they're taking them, they're eating them like candy. And then he's like, oh, if you sniff them, it'll
yeah, if you snort them, it'll be faster.
Dude, they're both sitting there snorting pills, and it was so funny. It's such a funny moment. And then of course, the next moment, Tim wakes up. It's a hard cut. He's duct taped to a fucking chair. And Millie's sitting there, and she's pouring like whiskey down his mouth, and he's trying to talk. She's like drowning him in whiskey. And earlier, this was like, they show some of the tools that his dad had given him before he died or whatever. And they had this, I think it's some kind of wood saw. You would know more than I. I'm not that good with tool stuff, but it's this very jaggedy, powerful wood saw.
I think it was a sawzall.
Okay, then you would know more than I. And she's sitting there with it, and their arms are fully like together, and she's about to cut them in half.
Which was great, because it's like, the whole reason they take the pills is because they're muscle relaxers. And so in the moment, Tim's like, if we do that, it's going to relax the muscles and, we'll loosen up. And then he fucking zonks out because he snorted like 7 of them.
Dude, he snorts so many of them. He'd probably be dead, man.
Right. So then he wakes up, and she's like, a little bit for you. And he's like, oh my God, why are you going to do this? And she explains it. And he's like, but you're right-handed. So she's already going to go with her non-dominant hand. And then she's like, oh no, enough with the whiskey. And he's like, why? And she's like, because I think I can feel your whiskey.
Yeah, because they're connected at this point. Now he's wasted. She's wasted. He's wasted. And when she tries to lift up the saw, because she's using her other arm, it's a big saw, dude. Like, even for a dude, man, a strong dude, it would be hard to do that. Like, she presses the trigger or whatever, and it's like, woo, all over the place, and hits the floor. So it adds even more tension to the scene, because you're like, oh my God, what is she going to cut off here? And they manage she cuts their limbs, their arms. And I will say, I'm sure you'll agree with me, the scene could have been gorier. We don't really get any gore. We see the beginning of the saw cutting through their arms and the little thin part of the skin. And then it cuts immediately to them in the kitchen eating like chicken and leftovers on the floor.
Yeah, it definitely, this movie many times through opts to go for the comedy route instead of the horror route, and it mostly works. But this is one of those scenes that I think if you're in it for the horror, you wanted to see more. Like, this is a scene they played up heavily in the trailer.
Yeah.
And so when they start doing the different angles, looking at how the saw is about to go into it, I was like, okay, well, this could be cool. And then it starts to cut, but it's blurred, and then it goes to them. It's like,
it just cuts. It's a really,
like blue balls, It's like, all right, well, we almost had it.
I wanted at least one really groovy Evil Dead-ish scene where there's blood spraying everywhere. I mean, dude, you're wearing an Evil Dead shirt at the screening earlier, so
I was.
To me, at least, give me one hard, fucking brutal, gory scene, and I'm good. And that could have been the one. I think that's where they kind of missed a little bit. Clearly intentional, clearly a creative choice not to make it like that. But as I said earlier, The Substance, which in my opinion, not only one of the best body horror modern movies ever, but one of the best. It's up there for sure. Yep. That ending with her on the stage and blood splattering everywhere, just glorious gore. And this movie just didn't go as hard with that. And props to them. That's what they wanted to do. That's their vision. But for me as a horror fan, I'm like, man, you should have went all the way, giving us at least a couple blood sprays all over the place. Because you see the aftermath. They're in the kitchen. It's a funny scene. And so at this point, we know, like, they both know, like, this is going to keep pulling them together.
And they only have like 2 pills left.
They have 2 pills left. She's like, we're going to the fucking hospital. There's nothing else we're going to do. She forgot her keys somehow at Jamie's house, which, of course, it's a horror movie. People do dumb shit. People don't know how to lock doors. People don't know how to not go downstairs when they hear a sound. So it's whatever. It's acceptable.
Why wouldn't you leave your keys there? Yeah.
Yeah. And so she goes there and she just stands there for 10 minutes and watches his wedding video, which is very clear that he is not just himself, that there's a version of himself and another man that are doing this ritual at this cultish church, while Tim was like, fuck this, I'm going back down in that hole. I'm going to go figure some shit out, man. I have to go find out more about what is going on here. He goes there, and they're seeing this imagery, which I thought was really powerful stuff, this artwork that was inside the chapel of 2 beings basically coming together. It's some pretty groovy stuff.
Well, it's the what's it called? The Aristophanes theory of the nature and origin of Eros, which is the, when humans were first created, that they had 4 sets of arms
and,
or 2 sets of arms,
2 faces on one head, right?
Them apart. Yeah. Yep. Because they'd be too powerful. So you get this, Jamie pops up in the background after the video runs its course, and he's been watching the whole time, and he explains that the cult and there's this ritual, and what it is it's you're seeing 2 men fuse together. So Jamie is what is the result of that fusion. So the partner that he had that he seemingly lost is because they fused together to become whole. And so he's like, we're so much happier now that we're a whole person.
We're one. Yeah.
Right. And then he says, you need to complete that process with Tim, because the alternative is not going to be something
you wouldn't like it. And then he cuts her all the way down in her forearm. There's some gore there. So that's some gore, right?
It was good. I like how the ring did that. And then you flash to Tim, who finds the monstrous being that Simon and Gary, the 2 hikers, had formed into. Yeah. And like you said, Justin, I think it was a huge call out to Funhouse.
I think so too. It reminded me a lot of the Funhouse for sure. The Rick Baker designed and performed mutant that's in that movie, because it's got the 2 sides of the head and it's like split down the middle. I felt like the face, definitely an homage to that, but it was this gruesome looking thing, and it definitely felt like it was in line with what we saw in The Substance, with like this mutated body. Great stuff, very spooky, very scary. I loved that. And I was telling you pre-show, had that not been in the movie, I would have definitely felt this movie was too light on horror stuff. But I loved this creature. The practical effects were amazing. You could tell it was an actual person in this makeup job, with practical limbs hanging all over the place, all slimy looking.
And you feel bad because it's like just like in the Funhouse. Sure. The thing, this creature is not trying to hurt Tim. It's pleading with him, like, help me.
Basically almost like fucking kill me, end me at this point. Like they're just stuck down there.
Like anybody else in that moment, Tim is like, no, and gets out of there with a knife, and then runs back to the driveway where he sees Millie, and Millie's like, I found out what's going on. I know what we have to do. And Tim's also like, yeah, I know what we have to do. And she's like, oh my God, you went to the cave. And then their bodies are being drawn to each other again. And you get this really great heartfelt moment.
Absolutely, man. I was tearing up during this.
Is like, I know what I have to do. Just close your eyes. And, or before that, he gets down on his knee and he does the proposal that she had done, that he had completely botched. And that's where he goes into, this speech about, he's like, I spent years chasing this dream of who I thought I was going to be, or who I was going to give up by choosing to settle down and be with you. And he's like, when really you've been the dream the entire time.
Dude, yeah. Great line.
It's powerful, man. And it's incredible. And so, then he stands up and he's like, I have to kill myself because I have to make sure that we don't become this thing, right?
Then he notices that the blood from her wound from Jamie on her forearm has been like going towards him. It's on the ground, like it's going directly to him. So he notices that she's injured, picks her up, takes her inside. We think she's going to die. She doesn't die. She's on the couch. They're there, but he had to stop the bleeding.
Not to cut you off, but
sure.
You can tell that her blood is seeping into him and
on his face and everything.
Yeah,
it's fusing with him. Yeah.
So you could tell that she's like, hey, this is what I had to do.
So he brings her inside and she wakes up and she's perfectly fine on the couch. And he said, this is the only way that I could save you. And they're joined again. They're joined together. And this is a callback to earlier in the movie when she's talking to her friend, like, hey, 10 years ago when I met him, he's like this music snob. I told him my favorite album was Spice World by Spice Girls. And the next date we had, he brought the vinyl. He bought the vinyl and gave it to me. And they realize at this point that they're stuck together. They're not going to get out of this. So they decide to basically come together as one, as Jamie had told Millie earlier on, like, this is what's going to happen at this point. He puts on the Spice Girls album
Fucking
on
two
vinyl.
become one.
Dude, and perfect moment. He says, we'll never get our first dance at our wedding, so we might as well do this. And they dance together, and they make out, and they come together as one, and they start to meld and mold into one thing.
Yeah.
One tiny gripe there. Obviously, we know there's going to be CGI in these movies. Well, there is Alison Brie's tits. There is no Dave Franco cock, though, which I would have. There should have been.
He had opportunity to show it.
He hit it earlier in the shower scene. He puts his hands over it. Whatever, man. Hey, dude doesn't want his cock shown. Whatever. Maybe his wife.
His brothers enough.
Dude, his wife is a producer on the movie. Maybe she's like, I'll show my tits. I don't want you showing your dick. Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
We don't know what happened behind the scenes. We just know what
we don't know. But so we get them naked and embracing. It's an amazingly fun moment. But what I was going to say is the CG was okay. The budget showed a little bit. The budget was 17 million. So it is what it is. I would have preferred more practicals because there's some awesome practical stuff earlier on when they start joining together. And it looks all good when it's melded with CG. But it's fine. The moment when they're like coming together and they're making out and their faces just start to mold together, it's pretty creepy stuff overall.
I think we should get a hashtag going that's hashtag release Franco's Frank. I think it would be
sure,
great.
right?
No,
you'd have to put James in front of that because no one wants to see Dave's. Because you were right. He already spread that shit around too much in Hollywood, and that's what got him in trouble.
So
Fucker.
No, you'd have to put Dave. James is the one who got in trouble.
That's right.
But Dave, this not Dave, but this scene I think is really great because many times that you see them kissing, like it builds up to this, like when they kiss after Jamie leaves that first night, their lips are stuck together and she's like, oh my God, did you bite me? And he's like, no, I didn't bite you. And he's like, but this is what I'm talking about. And she's like, either fuck me or don't. And then you get this scene where it's just like raw, visceral, just completely like two bodies becoming one, which is everything you hear about, like if you read any sort of erotic fiction, right? Or if you hope to be having good sex with your partner, it's usually two bodies becoming one. So I liked that imagery there.
Absolutely.
The CGI definitely told its budget a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things,
it wasn't horrible. I've seen much worse. I think there was one shot where it could have been a beautiful shot, and like I said, we were spoiled by the substance where 98.8% of that was all just practical makeup and costuming and everything else, where I was like, man, they could have just CGI'd their heads and had the rest be a practical suit. But I digress. It's fine. It didn't ruin anything. It didn't take points off of the movie or anything like that for me. And then, of course, we see the camera pan to Tim's laptop, which there's this ongoing conversation the whole movie about when he sees that couple who were lost in the woods, and their last post was them in the woods or whatever, like, and it only got 20 likes or something. And he's like,
yeah, it was like 23 likes, and it was something like, found our home in nature, or nature is calling, and something like that.
And he's like, and there's this conversation between the two of them where it's like, make sure before I die that, my last post isn't terrible like that. And you see the last post they made, which was it made the jump or something?
Took the plunge
on the house. And it's just Millie and Tim in front of the new house smiling. Amazing image, man. Really just actually almost made me want to cry.
No, for sure. But then it doesn't end there.
It doesn't end there. So then it pans from that. Then it pans back. And the table that you had just seen had the saw with blood all over it and everything is now filled with plates and cups. And they're about to prepare food. And Millie had said earlier on in the movie that my parents are going to be there. Like you said, Brady, I don't want you to be there. The parents pull up, they get out of the car, they ring you see now the cult bell The cult bell is on their porch with a little symbol on it. And then who opens the door?
Oh, I mean, I was trying to think this as like, so it's...
Is it Tilly or is it...
it's Mitt.
Mitt? Is it Mitt?
Yeah, I think it's Mitt. I think that's what we're going to call it. But yeah, I think they went for broke here, where it's like this almost like androgynous looking version of the two of them.
Absolutely.
And I can only imagine what Millie's parents were thinking in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, how do you explain that? But you don't need to know that. And then it cuts and it's great.
That's the end of the movie. Yeah.
I will say one thing that I noticed right off the rip in this movie is like there is the score is decent, but there is a lack of actual like music throughout. Like I think that helps a lot. I think like the needle drop that you get with "To Become One" by Spice Girls is all the much more impactful because it's not like a Deadpool, where there's like a needle drop every 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah. There's none of that in this movie. Yeah.
But I did like that. And the I will say though, the soundtrack or the score itself, I wasn't noticing it so much until like certain moments. Like it's by Cornell Wilczek, and I think his name is Alex Olenek. But you have moments like, I think Rat King is the title of one, but when Tim finds the rats above the light, or you have like the I just saw through our fucking arms, I think is what the title is called, and like those moments are good. But outside of that, man, I really didn't notice it a lot.
I will say this: first watch, when I watched it a few weeks back, did not notice the score that much. Second watch, noticed it a lot more. Really enjoyed it. I mean, especially in the scene, the hallway scene when they're coming together there, in the cave when Tim's down there with the monstrosity, if you will, the mutated couple. There's a lot of great scenes. I mean, this is the same composer that did Talk to Me, that did Bring Her Back. So I've liked all of Cornell's work, especially the score we just got earlier this year for Bring Her Back. So I liked the score a lot. I definitely a little more, I would say, subtle, if you will, because it's not that powerful all the way throughout the movie. A lot of the movie is just silent. It's just, dialogue, and we don't have score. But when it kicks in, those high strings, heavy bass, really worked for me, actually. So I think we're there, man. I think we're here. We're almost at an hour for just me and you on a movie. I guess that means we had a lot to say about together. So I'm going to throw it to you first, B-Ratty. Together, final thoughts, and are you going to trash it or treasure it?
Well, like I said at the beginning, I think it is a very enjoyable movie. I don't know that it could be billed for me personally as like a horror. I think is more thriller, relationship drama, tense movie for sure. So I think you can tell I wish that it had more of that body horror, which is a common gripe it's getting. And it's really cool that you see this imagery of like the arms kind of meshing together. But I really wanted more. I wanted to see more, even if it's something like Cabin Fever-esque, where it's like after their skin rips apart, there's some sort of open wound there. And you get a little bit of that, but there's not enough there. It's almost like they heal, right? Like I would be looking back at my leg, 2 days after, being like, why is this thing here? Why is this not closed up? And then when Millie is cutting through them, I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more blood, more than just a little splatter here and there.
You're just the fucking gore hound. Just like
I'm a gore hound. I also, another small gripe is that I think the cult angle was not really as impactful as I think they wanted it to be. It was almost like, and I know this comes from a short story, but it's almost like it should have been like, oh, well, we have to have a way to justify this without really diving into it. So let's just say it's this cult in this church and this doing stuff. But like, it felt like when Jamie's explaining it, he's like, well, you just watched this video, so you understand everything, right? Ha ha ha. And it's like,
what other movie
really.
this year? What other movie this year did the same thing? The exact same fucking thing.
I'm drawing a blank.
Bring Her Back did the same fucking thing. Same thing. Watch it on a videotape, and there's a cult. It's the same thing.
But I think Bring Her Back, where that does it right, is it lives in that cult atmosphere the entire movie. This one is not so much. But again, that's just a small gripe. It's not going to take away from the movie. I think that overall, the performances are what makes or breaks this movie. And I don't know how you can hate what Dave, Franco, and Alison Brie give us with this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also really no other... they do this movie so much justice with showing that visceral, primal feeling of wanting to get under your partner's skin in every possible way, right? And unfortunately for them, it's also in bad ways in this.
Yeah.
But whether they're riding a high or they're fighting or they're pleading with each other at the end, like every moment of their relationship on this is so lived in and so real and raw, that's what gets you through everything. That's why every time that they are going through some sort of physical issue, or they're about to pull their skin apart from each other, you feel it. And so that, like you were saying, it makes you at the end like really root for them, and that's what you want out of your two characters, right? Like I think that the scenery was great. The great contrast of like the green nature with that orange car, or like the train. I think all of that was really good. So at the end of the day, I have to go ahead and treasure it, man. Like I think people should go out and see this one. You should support horror on a $17 million budget. I think it's sitting at 10.9 million right now, which is great to hear. Especially coming along of what Bad Guys 2 and Naked Gun this weekend.
Yeah. Naked Gun just had like the biggest weekend for any comedy movie of the last decade, apparently, which is great because I loved it. So it's good.
Great.
But
yeah, what about you, man? Trash or treasure?
Absolutely treasure it. We'll see where the year ends out when it comes to horror movies. But as of right now, this would probably make my ladder out of the top 10 of the year for sure. Love the chemistry of the characters and the actors. I love the theme. I teared up a lot today. I think that there were some powerful moments when it comes to marriage and relationships. I laughed a lot. I had a good time, man. I think that the movie serves its purpose well. Could it have been bloodier? Absolutely would have loved. I mean, it could have gone super hardcore. And not even that I would want that. I think that there were a couple of moments where it could have gone a little bit harder, but it had like a mutant two-headed fucking awesome practical effect that I thought was great. The atmosphere was wonderful. I loved that it felt like something we hadn't seen before, because we have not really seen anything, I think, in a modern sense with movies like this. And we had two amazing actors at the forefront. So for me, absolutely treasuring this movie. I might even buy it. I don't know. I saw it twice. I liked it enough to go see it a second time to review this with you. So I agree. I think I've been saying this with our slashers, but we can continuously say this on Epic Film Guys, that we've been spoiled the last 5 or 6 years with amazing, brutal gore in practical effects in movies, mostly thanks to the Terrifier movies. And of course, The Substance did it as well. And we've had a great year for horror. We had Sinners. We had 28 Years Later. I had some motherfucker try to tell me that Sinners wasn't a horror movie. And I was like, dude, just walk away from me. Please walk away from me. I get your perspective on this not being as horror heavy as it could have been, for sure. But it is a horror movie. It had the dark suspense moments, and the one scene that screams to me, I think, is when Tim's sitting there working on music, or not working on music, just sitting there staring at his computer screen, and he says, "Hey babe, ready for bed?" And he goes upstairs. I've been this guy before. I'm like, oh, my wife's already sleeping. He sees that Millie's already sleeping. He goes downstairs, and they have these like what is that glass called? The doors. It's not stained glass. It's like
oh, I don't know.
Where you can't see all the way through it.
The blurry glass.
The blurry glass, whatever it is. And dude, that sound effect, he's looking at his computer and she just rushes towards the door and bam, hits her fucking head against it. And she's elevating in midair. And you just see that imagery of her face in front of that glass. Terrifying shit, man. Just scary stuff. So
yeah, and that was good.
Yeah,
sound
really
design
enjoyed that.
Was really good.
Sound design was amazing. When that hit, I felt the whole theater go boom. Nice jump scare, a legitimate jump scare, a jump scare that deserves to be jumped for, not a cheap one, not the kind that we don't like. B-Ratty, it's the kind that we do like. So, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our review of Together. Make sure if you are interested in seeing this movie, you go out and support it in theaters. And absolutely go out and see The Naked Gun too, because if you want to laugh, do a double feature. You want to laugh? Go see that. And you want to be scared? Go see this. Great double feature. This year's Barbenheimer. And dude, they're both, that movie is less than an hour and a half, and this movie's an hour or 102 minutes. So, short double feature. You'll be back home with your kids or your family or with your dogs or whoever, and maybe you will have the best sex of your life after watching these movies, because there's great sex scenes in both. If it's your first time listening to Epic Film Guys, thanks for checking us out. We deeply appreciated it in our 11th year of podcasting. And if you've been listening to the show for a long time, thanks for sticking with us. We love you so much. We're available on every single podcatcher known to man, and of course at Epic Film Guys on all social media platforms. Yes, all of them. I try to make do on all of them. I really try my best. Even TikTok once in a while, I swear I try to log in and post something for y'all to be like, hey, come look at us over here. But that's it for this episode. I think the next one we're going to do, we're super excited about, is weapons. Man, can't fucking wait for that one. So, but I'll bite my tongue on that. Until next time, I'm Justin.
I'm B-Ratty.
And as always, we'd like to ask you to keep it baby. Oh, yeah.